Hulk Hogan is gone at 71, and the wrestling world is trying to process the size of that loss. Reports say his final months were defined by a cascade of health problems after neck surgery on May 14th. Complications piled up: renal failure, fluid overload, severe chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. Friends tried to keep spirits up and downplay the worst of it, but the people close to the situation say that when the hospital could do no more, they brought the hospital home. Machines, medication, and round-the-clock care inside the house. An attempt to keep him comfortable while hope narrowed to a pinhole. On the morning the emergency call went out, cameras captured paramedics working furiously, performing chest compressions as they wheeled him toward an ambulance. Police records timestamped the call at 9:51 a.m. Clearwater Fire and Rescue treated him and took him to a nearby hospital. It was the final fight of a man who had spent a lifetime overcoming the odds in front of sold-out crowds. Family stories have also surfaced, and they paint a complicated picture. Brooke Hogan reportedly last spoke to her father 2 weeks before he married Sky Daily in September 2023. She told him she loved him. She told him she was worried. She told him she did not think he should be working as hard as he was with his health declining. Sources described the relationship as strained. They say Brooke's husband tried to mend fences, reaching out even when Brooke nearly died in childbirth, and claim the response was cold. The reports add that Hulk wanted a relationship on his terms, and that Brooke learned of his passing through a text from her brother, Nick. Even with that distance, she has said she is at peace because the last words she spoke to her father were, "I love you." Families are messy. Fame does not simplify them. If anything, it hardens lines and deepens silences. This story has both love and distance, and both are true at the same time. The wave of tributes that followed felt like an earthquake rolling across generations. Vince McMahon, quiet on social media for a long time, broke that silence to call Hulk Hogan the greatest WWE superstar of all time, a trailblazer who turned professional wrestling stardom into global celebrity. He praised Hogan's grit, his hunger, and the relationship he forged with audiences who felt like they knew him. McMahon ended with the mantra that defined an era: train, take your vitamins, and say your prayers. Today, he said, we pray for him. Stone Cold Steve Austin called Hogan larger than life with charisma for days, a man in his own stratosphere whose influence will last forever. The Rock remembered being a 12-year-old kid meeting Hogan at Madison Square Garden, then fast-forwarded to the electricity of WrestleMania 18, icon versus icon, a stadium rumbling as two eras collided. His sign-off cut straight to the business that binds wrestlers together. "Thank you for the house, brother." Ric Flair wrote like a friend who lost family. He said Hogan stood by him across decades, visited him when doctors gave him a 2% chance to live, prayed at his bedside, and even left money when Reed was sick. Kevin Nash mourned another fallen comrade, noting he is now the last original NWO member. "Icon doesn't even touch it," he wrote. NWO for life and beyond. Voices outside the ring joined in. Michael Cole told ESPN that Hogan and Vince McMahon created sports entertainment, as we understand it today, building a bridge from regional promotion to global juggernaut television partners cannot ignore. Sylvester Stallone praised Hogan as smarter than people realized, an entrepreneur who pushed through pain without complaint and tried to be pleasant to everyone he met. Donald Trump called Hogan strong, tough, and smart, said he had the biggest heart, and remembered a thunderous speech at the Republican National Convention. Eric Bischoff, the executive who brought Hogan into WCW and helped steer the industry into the Monday Night War, said he found out in the cruelest way, catching the headline on Fox News. He spoke about the difference between Hulk Hogan and Terry Bollea, saying the man behind the character was generous to a fault, loyal, and big-hearted. He said faith became central for Hogan in the last 6 to 8 years, and that his baptism filled him with pride and joy. Beneath the yellow and red, and beneath the black and white, was a man trying to resolve the gap between a superhero the world demanded and a person who still had to live with himself. Inside WWE, the machinery of remembrance roared to life. Reports say departments were told to pause what they were working on and pivot to Hogan content. Legends were contacted to record tributes. Social channels were expected to flood timelines with memories. SmackDown was expected to open with the full roster on the stage for a 10-bell salute, a moment of communal stillness before the show moves forward, because the show must always move forward. Peacock projects feel inevitable, whether a documentary miniseries or a long-form retrospective that explores the rise, the controversies, the reinventions, and the final chapter. TNA delivered its own tribute on Impact. Madison Square Garden, the mecca that housed so many of his triumphs, lit its screens with a banner honoring the night in 1984, when he beat the Iron Sheik and the boom truly began. If you were a WWF kid, that image was the spark that lit everything else. Tell us your first Hulkamania memory in the comments. What match, promo, or entrance theme hit you the hardest? Drop it below and keep the tape trading spirit alive in the algorithm. Not everyone chose to speak. AEW's silence became a story by itself. There were no official posts and no comment from Tony Khan. Some fans blasted the decision, arguing that whatever you think of the controversies attached to Hogan, his historical importance is undeniable and deserves acknowledgement. Others pointed to the record. In 2020, after Linda Hogan posted about the George Floyd protests, Tony Khan publicly said both Linda Hogan and Hulk Hogan were banned from AEW events. He later said he could not work with Hogan after what was said on the infamous tape and that the apology was never adequate. Through that lens, silence now is consistent with the stance then. The question is whether consistency satisfies the moment. For some, it does. For others, it feels like a personal position overriding the wider history of a business that owes much of its mainstream boom to the man who posed with his hand cupped to his ear. Should AEW have issued a short condolence message anyway? Yes or no? Tell us respectfully and explain why. Even as mourning dominates, one of Hogan's final ventures presses on. The Real American Freestyle Wrestling League, co-founded with Terry Francis and CEO Chad Bronstein, is moving forward. Fox Nation plans to stream the debut event, Ray F1, on August 30th from the Wolstein Center in Cleveland, with a second show targeted for the fall. The concept blends current NCAA wrestlers, former collegiate standouts, and Olympic talent in a format aimed at showcasing American freestyle and folk-style roots with big show presentation. Without Hogan physically present, the project inevitably shifts from a launch backed by star power to a tribute powered by legacy. If the cards deliver and the production finds its groove, it could become the capstone to a career that began in a ring, but kept branching into new avenues of promotion and entrepreneurship. Would you watch a pure wrestling league with production values turned up to 11? Vote in the comments and tell us what rules or presentation you'd change to hook casual fans. While the industry honors the past, it is also juggling the chaos of the present. Seth Rollins is at the center of a swirl of speculation. Reports claim an injury changed plans, with one outlet saying LA Knight was booked to lose to Rollins at a Saturday night's main event, then get his win back at SummerSlam in a high-profile rematch. The ambiguity around Seth's health fuels fan theories. Is he actually hurt? Is it minor and being treated with caution? Or is the injury chatter a smokescreen for a surprise? Maybe even a money-in-the-bank cash-in twist to spike the stadium reaction. WWE thrives on uncertainty, and Rollins is adept at turning uncertainty into theatre. If the original plan really was a split series designed to elevate Knight while keeping Rollins strong, the company now has to recut the path without bluntly disappointing either fanbase. That is the art of modern WWE. Keep plates spinning, keep options open, and protect the pop. Predict your SummerSlam outcome below. Closest prediction gets a shout-out in our next episode. Another thread that turned heads is a reported breakdown between WWE and Travis Scott. His fingerprints were on key moments, including John Cena's heel presentation at Elimination Chamber and the road to WrestleMania 41. The new word is that a full falling out occurred. He was allegedly positioned as a surprise downloadable character for WWE 2K25, but that plan was scrapped. The slot reportedly went to El Grande Americano, and Aleister Black was tapped to replace Scott in a WrestleMania pack despite not appearing at the show. The reason for the rift has not surfaced, but the phrase "open season to knock him" suggests hard feelings and closed doors. If that is accurate, do not expect to see Travis training in the Performance Center or walking down a WWE ramp anytime soon. Celebrity alliances are volatile. They can supercharge reach when they work and evaporate without warning when they do not. Should WWE chase fewer celebrity tie-ins and invest more in long-term stories? Or do celebrity spikes still grow the audience? Sound off and keep it civil. Money always tells the hidden story, and right now a lot of money is flowing through OnlyFans. Former NXT performer Cora Jade, real name Elena Black, announced she was cancelling indie dates and taking a break for mental health. Reports add that there is another layer, earnings on OnlyFans that dwarf typical wrestling paydays. The backstage talk says she told people she cleared more in a single month than any female wrestler made in the same period. Even if that is exaggerated, the implication is loud. If a performer can make life-changing money quickly, a year or two of that income can set them up for the long term. That changes the calculus. It is not just about passion for the craft. It becomes a question of time, risk, and reward. There is also talk that Cora Jade intends to collaborate with Mandy Rose, who has already proven how large the platform's upside can be for a performer with a wrestling fanbase. Industry insiders predict a repeatable path: build an audience in wrestling, then pivot or supplement with a subscription business that monetizes that audience at a scale promotions cannot match. Some will stay committed to the ring regardless. Others will choose financial security over bumps and travel. Promotions will have to rethink contracts, incentives, and brand rules if they want to compete with those numbers. Where do you stand on this shift? Is it smart career management or a loss for in-ring storytelling? Leave a thoughtful take and we may feature it on screen. Roster movement continues elsewhere. Jakara Jackson, known from NXT's Metaphor faction, has appeared in TNA under the name Mara Shardai. She debuted on the July 24th episode of Impact, teaming with Cassie Lee and Jessica McKay. The duo fans remember as the I-Iconics. It is a fresh platform and a chance to redefine presentation in a company that has quietly rebuilt itself around strong women's wrestling and fan-friendly storytelling. TNA has often been the place where wrestlers reinvent themselves and return sharper. If Mara Shardai catches on, this could be the start of a meaningful run. All of these threads curl back to the same central question raised by Hogan's death. What does a legacy look like in a business that never stops? Hulk Hogan took professional wrestling from niche to mainstream. He was the face on lunchboxes and the soundtrack of childhoods. He packed Madison Square Garden, headlined WrestleManias, flipped the business on its head by turning heel and launching the New World Order, and helped spark the most competitive and creative boom the industry has ever seen. His controversies are part of the record. So are the people he helped, the careers he made, and the generations he inspired who went on to surpass him in the ring, while standing on the platform he helped build. You can feel the scope of that when you watch the reactions. Austin, Rock, Flair, Nash, McMahon, broadcasters, actors, presidents, and thousands of fans who still feel chills when Real American hits and a blonde mustache appears in the entryway. There are very few figures whose arrival alone changed the temperature of a room. He was one of them. Grief inside wrestling is always complicated because grief has to share the stage with business. Shows have to air, angles have to advance, tickets have to sell, the respectful pause happens, the 10 bells toll, and then the pyro fires and the next chapter begins. The right way to honor a performer who lived for the raw is to keep giving the audience something to roar about. Expect WWE to memorialize Hogan with scale and polish. Expect documentaries and specials that try to balance triumph and controversy without soft pedaling either. Expect fans to debate every choice. because debate is part of how wrestling processes memory. Expect AEW to remain quiet unless Tony Khan decides there is a statement that can both honor history and remain true to the position he took years ago. Expect the Real American Freestyle Wrestling League to plant its flag on August 30th and ask fans to support a vision that was important to Hogan in his final year. Expect more wrestlers to chase financial independence through platforms outside the ring, and expect promotions to adjust or risk losing names they hoped to build around. If you value deep dives without fluff, hit subscribe, ring the notification bell, and help this report reach more fans by tapping like. Drop a comment with your Hogan memory, your AEW stance, and your SummerSlam prediction. Share this episode with a friend who watched WrestleMania 18 live, or a new fan who only knows the NWO shirt from vintage shops. Follow Scandal News on your favorite socials for updates, breaking notes, and viewer polls. Send respectful tips and corrections through our contact page so we can keep the record straight. If you want to power more long-form coverage, consider joining our channel membership. Your support keeps the lights on and the stories honest. Rest in peace, Hulk Hogan. The bell has tolled, the music hits, the crowd is still loud, and the memory runs wild forever.